Wait, I can't use the key. I tried to insert the key into my home's door and noticed something strange. The key wouldn't fit properly, as if to say, this key is not the key to my front door. But that couldn't be true. The key I have is the one I've had for a long time, and it has a pink teddy bear keychain that I received from my children a long time ago. I rang the intercom. Then I heard a woman's voice on the other end of the intercom saying, yes. It was the voice of my eldest son's wife. I'm sorry, the key seems to be not working. Can you please open the door for me? Then on the other side of the intercom, my eldest son's wife, trying to hold back her laughter and occasionally almost burst out laughing, Who are you? There's only me and my husband in our house, she answered. At that moment, I realized this person had driven me out. She moved into this house with the intention of waiting for the right opportunity to drive me out and live here exclusively. It seems, even though you're not the rightful owners of this house, I can't believe you would do such a thing. I glared at the intercom's camera. However, it seemed like she didn't understand what she had actually done, and from the other side of the intercom I heard what sounded like stifled laughter. Then she retorted, What are you even talking about? This house belongs to my husband. It's not some shabby place owned by a woman like you. If you don't leave our doorstep right now, I'll report you. In fact, I feel like reporting her instead. However, even if I spoke the truth here, she wouldn't reflect on it that much. With that in mind, I turned my back to the house. I'll show you hell, so be prepared, I said, although I'm not sure if my voice reached her, as I could hear my eldest son's wife's voice giggling cheerfully through the intercom. My name is Joanne. Currently, it's been 1 year since my husband and I divorced after reaching our late age. To be honest, the reason my husband and I divorced later in life is that another woman appeared claiming to love my husband. My husband has always been handsome, and as he aged, rather than losing his charm, he became more and more dashing. As a result, there were women who didn't mind his age and would boldly approach him. He never seemed to have romantic feelings for anyone until he retired, or at least that's what I thought. But as he approached retirement, there was a woman who, as always, was drawn to my husband's dashing demeanor and confessed her feelings to him. This woman knew he was married, yet she came to me and spoke about how much she loved him and wanted to share her life with him. To be honest, in our marriage, after raising our 2 children and approaching retirement age, things had become a bit stagnant. So I even considered the idea of getting a late-in-life divorce and doing the things I wanted to do alone. Most importantly, I liked the woman who came to me and told me about her love for my husband because she was very polite for someone who wanted to keep her love for a married man. Indeed, she mentioned that she would let go of her love for my husband if I decided not to divorce him, and she'd do the same if he expressed discomfort with her feelings. It feels remarkably refreshing to see her so straightforward. For some reason, even after divorcing my husband, I still keep in touch with that woman, and we occasionally go together to stylish cafes. As for the divorce and her remarriage to my ex-husband, I'm not that attached to those matters, so I meet her without any concerns. However, my 2 sons can't seem to understand why I meet my husband's new partner, and my eldest son, Ian, even came up with some strange ideas like, I got it. Mom, you must be holding some leverage over that woman and blackmailing her to get money, right? You're pretty cunning. And you agreed to the divorce with Dad, without making a fuss just for the sake of this lifestyle. Seeing him say such silly things, I told him, That's not the case, we're just friends. But still, he seems puzzled and can't seem to understand the nature of our relationship. Well, if it weren't a late-in-life divorce and I were still young, I think I would never have divorced. But our children have grown up now, and I believe they would accept however we, their parents, choose to live. That's how it is, and I lived in the house alone after my husband left. I placed a chair on the balcony, read novels, and drank tea. If this refined life, undisturbed by anyone, was the price I had to pay for the divorce, then I think it was well worth it. After my ex-husband retired from his busy work life, I realized I couldn't adjust to him being home all the time, so divorce was the right reason. I heard that my ex-husband and his new wife are enjoying a fun and fresh new life, and it seems to be a win-win situation for both of us. As I was contemplating these thoughts, suddenly the intercom rang. I headed towards the entrance, thinking that it might be a friendly neighbor because I didn't remember ordering any deliveries, and there, in front of the front door, were my eldest son Ian and his wife, Karina. I don't have a very favorable impression of the two of them. Earlier, my eldest son implied I might be using leverage to threaten my ex-husband's new wife because we get along well, and his wife is equally malicious. Both of them, when they heard about my divorce, "Seriously? I'll take you in. Getting abandoned by your husband at that age, Mom? How pathetic. If it were me, I wouldn't be able to survive. Oh, even if you run into trouble, neither Ian nor I will help you."
Yeah. Please, Mom, don't rush into things. It'll cause trouble for us.
They spoke as if I had made mistakes and been abandoned by my husband. When I mentioned the divorce, both my husband and the second son were also present. Seeing them laugh, my youngest son said,
Hey, we weren't talking about something like that, right? Both of you are being too rude, aren't you?
He tried to advise the two of them, but they didn't listen at all, as if it were business as usual for them. In fact, even my youngest son, who usually defends me, laughed and said,
Hey, Ian, are you serious? No matter how you look at it, Mom and Dad are not a good match. That's why I thought it was inevitable he'd abandon her, retiring and marrying a young woman. Mom, you're seriously miserable.
My husband and I exchanged glances and sighed. It's always been like this with Ian. Since middle school and high school, he surrounded himself with bad-mannered seniors and delinquents, driving away decent people from his life. After graduating high school, he said, I'll work with the seniors, and ran away from home, but then out of the blue, he came back with Karina saying, We got married. Both my husband and I thought that since we don't live together, there haven't been any immediate troubles, so it's somewhat better. However, while I was living alone, they came back with a large amount of luggage and a moving company in tow. What on earth is going on? I exclaimed in surprise.
Mom, you're in the way. If you're not going to help with the move, then get out of here.
Yeah, that's right. We're already tired just from moving. At least could you make us some tea? Come on, hurry up and get it. Karina and Ian issued orders towards me. This is not the way to treat a parent. I mean, I never heard anything about them moving back. What nonsense are you talking about? I never heard anything about you moving back. Please, just leave. As I said this, both of them looked stunned and then burst into laughter, pointing at my face.
What are you saying? Mom, do you know what will happen if you stand against us? You'll be left stranded with nowhere to go.
Sure. Mom, it's rare for you to be here, but Ian and I don't want to waste our time. So, for now, you're in the way. Saying this, Karina pushed my shoulder. As I stumbled, a sympathetic mover supported me, so I managed to stay on my feet. But what on earth do they think of themselves? Do they think they're kings or something? And now, with me unable to do anything, these two grown-up children have ended up in my house. They act as if this house truly belongs to them and have started to mess it up. Both of them never do any housework, yet they leave garbage all over the floor. If I don't do the laundry, their clothes are scattered everywhere. During mealtime, they just say, We're hungry, and when I serve food, they complain, This doesn't taste right. It's fine if they just say it, but if they don't like the taste, both of them demand that I buy ingredients to make something else to satisfy their selfish desires. Their selfishness is worse than that of small children. Moreover, what's troublesome is that both of them refuse to contribute financially despite living in this house. It's evident that their presence incurs living expenses, but their demands for food choices are driving up the food costs. One day I thought, isn't it okay to receive some money for expenses? And talked to Ian and Karina about it. Hey, both of you, if you plan to continue living together, contribute to the living expenses. Do you even know how much your meals cost? As I spoke, both of them exchanged glances and laughed. We're allowing you to stay here, so it's fine, isn't it? If you don't want to be kicked out, then keep quiet. I couldn't understand what the people in front of me were saying. After that, I repeatedly tried to talk to them, but gradually they responded less, and I ended up being ignored by them. It started with small issues, and now after a year has passed, I hardly get any response from them. Wow, so Joanne, have you really forgiven your eldest son and his wife after a whole year? The surprised voice came from my husband's new wife, Mary, who is now my friend despite the age gap. I wouldn't say forgive, more like, at this age, it's bothersome to confront them. Maybe ignoring is the right term. No, it's not right. Joanne, you said you're relieved to be free from taking care of them. If living alone brings you joy, then stick to it. Saying that, Mary held my hand. I actually know someone skilled enough to take care of such people. Let's come up with a plan together. Mary's intense concern for me ignited a fierce determination within me, so despite feeling embarrassed, I devised a plan to drive the two of them out. While I was busy devising that plan, I had no idea what was happening at my home. When I returned, I found myself stranded at the front door. Huh? The key won't work. I noticed a sense of unease as I tried to insert the key into my own door. The key wouldn't fit properly. While wondering what was going on, I rang the intercom. Then I heard a woman's voice saying yes from the other side of the intercom. It was Karina's voice. It seems like Karina is at home today, even though she usually goes out around lunchtime. I'm sorry, Karina. It seems like the key isn't working. Could you open it for me? Then on the other side of the intercom, my eldest son's wife, trying to hold back her laughter and occasionally almost bursting out laughing. Who are you? There's only me and my husband in our house. It was at this point that I realized, before I could drive them out, it was Karina and Ian who had already ousted me. I see. You're not even the owner of this house. How dare they do something like this? What are you talking about? This house belongs to my husband. This isn't a place for a dirty old woman like you. If you stay here any longer, I'll report you. To threaten to report me is really something. I immediately turned away from the house and called Mary. Mary, it's an emergency. I was forced out first. They changed the locks while I was away. As I briefly explained what happened, Mary on the other end of the phone was even angrier than I was. What is wrong with those people? No matter how nice you are, there are certain things you should and shouldn't do. I've had enough. I'll take them on thoroughly. For now, find a place to stay. Come to my place. Let's discuss the details here. Then my ex-husband, who was asked by Mary to come and pick me up, arrived promptly, and together we headed to the house where Mary was waiting. Even my ex-husband, while in the car, was astonished after hearing about the outrageous behavior of our eldest son and his wife over the past year.
Seriously, how on earth did they end up like that? I never imagined they would consider that house as their own.
It's neither your fault nor mine. Though it's true we couldn't change Ian's personality. That child is already an adult. He needs to take care of himself. It's his fault for never learning.
Yeah, this time let's make sure he understands. Don't worry. Regarding the person known by Mary, I also have some information. There's a place where they can straighten out Ian and his wife. I hadn't heard much about Mary's acquaintance, so I decided to ask and get more details about it when we reached home. It seems that the acquaintance Mary mentioned is in a company that completely reformed her brother, who used to be quite rebellious and uncontrollable, turning him into a responsible and serious person. It's quite a Spartan-style company, but it seems to improve bad behaviors. Oh, such a company exists? Are they entrusting Ian and Karina to that company? Since both of them work in other companies, are they considering a job change? When I asked, he seemed surprised and shared some information with me. To me, it was completely new and quite surprising. At the same time, I realized that we really need to take action against Karina and Ian. Later, I received several missed calls and messages from both Karina and Ian, who are trying to reach me while I'm living in a hotel. However, I didn't answer those calls. Turning off my smartphone, I headed to the house where Mary and my ex-husband were waiting. Both of them welcomed me, and when I mentioned that Karina and Ian had called but I didn't answer, they both nodded in agreement.
I can imagine Karina and Ian must be in a tough situation right now, because the house they thought they could continue to live in normally has been sold. They have to move out. Moreover, it seems that the people from the company they are going to rely on in the future are the ones who bought that house. There are many strong people in that company, including my brother, so I've been keeping an eye on them from a distance. They were told to get out of this house. Ian and Karina both seemed to be shaking and falling on their butts. Mary told me this with a laugh. If only I could have watched the scene from afar, but I didn't know what they would say if I confronted them directly. It wouldn't hurt to be cautious. Then the intercom rang. Mary, after checking the monitor, said, "Ah, the two of them have arrived. Stay in the living room, Joanne. I won't let them know about you, no matter what." Saying that, Mary led my ex-husband to the front door. As soon as the entrance opened, Ian started speaking.
"Dad, listen to me. Mom is being unreasonable."
He started to speak. And as I wondered what kind of terrible things he would say about me to my ex-husband,
She sold off the house that was supposed to belong to me, and she took all the furniture with her. That house was where Dad allowed Mom to live as compensation for your affair. You reluctantly let Mom live there, right? Selling it without permission is unthinkable,
he said. Even though my husband and I had a proper conversation when we divorced, it seems Ian still insists that our divorce and his father's remarriage were due to an affair. I understand that my relationship with my ex-husband and Mary is complex, but since they get along well, I'm not bothered by it. I never imagined that my own son would think that my ex-husband cheated. My ex-husband also said,
"Huh? What are you talking about? Joanne and I had an amicable divorce. Even now, Mary and Joanne get along well. I never paid any alimony, and when Joanne and I divorced, we just divided our assets."
My ex-husband said that, but it seems Ian couldn't believe even his own father's words.
"That's a lie. There's no way Mom would get the house through asset division. She has money, so it's strange for her to have a house too. Truth is, the house belongs to you, Dad, but Mom must have threatened you or something. Or what else could it be? If you didn't want the affair exposed to others, you must be handing over money to Mom monthly silently. Are you handing money over to Mom because she's threatening you?"
Ian seems to have quite an overactive imagination, doesn't he? Then it seems that Karina, who came along with Ian, also said, "That's right. It's ridiculous to think that a woman abandoned by such a husband would have both money and a house." My, oh my, they really can be so disrespectful to others. And to think they've been living in my house for a whole year without paying a single cent. Please, stop it. You both have it all wrong. At this point, Mary raised her voice and said, "That house is Joanne's family home. It has been hers even before we got married. After her parents passed away, it was in her name. That's why the house belongs to Joanne and no one else."
"Is that house really Mom's family home?"
Ian was extremely surprised. We should have talked about it many times since he was little, but it seems he completely forgot. Well, if he remembered, he wouldn't have said something embarrassing like, "This house is mine," right?
"So, did you mess up at your previous workplace and got fired? And on top of that, you couldn't pay the rent, so you relied on Mom, right? Yet you show no gratitude. Don't pay the rent and just loaf around. I mean, you don't have money to pay the rent, but you have money to change the locks without the owner's permission?"
Upon hearing these words from her ex-husband, Karina let out a pitiful scream. I couldn't help but hold back my laughter. However, Mary continued to corner the frightened couple even further. "That house was already sold by Joanne, so you have no home to return to. You're not allowed to enter my house either. I won't tolerate being treated like a servant by you."
There's no way we'd do that."
Their voices sounded so pitiful. But neither my ex-husband nor Mary showed any sign of backing down. "Well then, I'll introduce you to some live-in work, so go there," Mary said and handed over a certain business card. The business card was that of the president of a company rumored to be able to make anyone Mary knew bend to their will. Both of them were delighted at the prospect of having a place to live, so they headed to the designated location. As they arrived, they were greeted by tough staff members and the president, who had heard about Karina and Ian, seemed eager to witness their defiance, smiling as he observed the two. Later, I sometimes hear about their situation from Mary. It seems their morale has significantly declined as they have tried to escape several times, but without much success. Every escape attempt ends in them getting caught by anticipating staff, and Karina and Ian keep blaming each other, saying, "This kind of life is all your fault." As for me, I sold the house since it felt a bit too spacious for one person, and now I'm taking my time to decide on the next place to live. Once I move, I can't wait to introduce it to Mary and my ex-husband, so I'm really excited about the move.